Hi everybody and welcome back. On last week's episode of the podcast we spoke about mental health, what that means to us as people, how we're dealing with it and how we suggest other people try and talk about it. If you did miss the episode, please go onto our YouTube channel, like, share and subscribe, we'd really appreciate it.
And on this week's episode we're going to be talking about success and how different definitions of success shape who we are as people. Let's get into it, hope you enjoy it. Episode 5, success this week. But how did you feel last week's episode went? Mental health, you were very passionate. What was the feedback that you got from that? Are you happy for that episode?
Yes, I think very much. In terms of, don't care about me and you on this one. This was...
Cheers.
It's alright, pal. I do care about you, don't worry. But this was about sending a message and raising awareness and just talking about things, how they were. And telling some personal stories, but more around, we haven't been to the depths that others have in that, so staying respectful to that.
Yeah.
And some of the personal feedback we've received, just in terms of how it might help people, that episode, and listen, we by no means think we've made it, obviously, but for the people that did view it, thank you for the support and thank you for the kind compassion towards it, because it was very heartwarming. It's such an important topic at this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we both got so into that, and I think that's got to be a running theme with where we go in terms of the emotional connection which we try and make, the personal stories we tell.
Yeah.
And
letting people come on here and tell their stories as well,
Yeah.
and their own personal journeys. I know we've had some conversations with some people already about coming on and telling their stories, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I always personally set out with this podcast to start giving myself a voice as well as you, but also other people, mate, that are struggling out there, or other people that are doing well out there. This podcast is about life. It's about the highs and lows. It's about struggles. It's about the successes, which probably leads me on quite nicely to this week's episode. Yeah. We're going to talk about success this week. Now, we've had some conversations about this. Can you actually define success? Because very difficult, because your success looks different to mine. So is there an actual definition of success you think out there that anyone can abide to?
I mean, my answer would be no. And let's start with a successful podcast and how much effort it's taken me and you to get to this point being sat here. And when I mean that, I don't mean the planning and recording of previous episodes. I mean by the hour and a half we spent trying to do our new introduction earlier.
Yeah.
Because Mr. here had the giggles and yeah, it's been painful. But I think going back onto it, I don't think success can be defined holistically, because we are all on our own personal journeys. We have to try and define it within ourselves. But when I say that, I don't mean we all sit down and look in the mirror and do it professionally. You know that. It's a feeling. It's a sense of achievement, and it's removing work from it, because work success can be defined, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think work achievements have a flip side on your personal success, obviously.
Yeah.
People are driven. But, success engagements within the business world is KPI driven, it's metric driven, it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you feel like when we talk about success, everybody's initial thought will be how well they're doing at work, how wealthy they are, what car they own, what house they own, and all those things, where they go on holiday? Because for me, growing up, success was all about work. Yeah. That's the only way you could define it. And we could go into the work, we work with clients every day, and we define the success so granular that it's easy to measure. So, but with personal life, can you have success in your personal life? Can people measure success in your personal life outside of the workplace? For me, no, because everybody's different. Other people have different journeys, different definitions of how happy they are and what happiness looks to them, and we can do an episode on happiness. I mean, we could be here for hours, right? But success ties in with happiness, because if someone's successful at business and they come home to a horrible relationship and they're unhappy at home, are they successful? Or if someone goes to work and is really happy with the people there, not earning the highest salary, but they come home, then they've got a family, they're sitting down watching a family, now are they successful? Are they more successful than the guy that's got £1 million?
Yeah.
So for me, it's difficult to define, which probably doesn't help with the podcast episode. You're not really giving any answers here.
I mean, maybe let's find those two people and ask them. That might help. But no, you're right. It's an internal feeling, and it's I think the one thing I'd say on it is we have to be mindful of the impact of other people on defining success and how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we could easily sit here and go, listen, don't let other people impact the way you feel about yourselves and your achievements, and don't be put down by it, because that's bollocks. We all intake that.
Yeah.
But it's how we process it. And going back to the mental health thing and the impact of social environments and the economic impacts and personal earnings and things like that. It's all, you will know within yourself what that means and how you go about shaping it. And we had an interesting conversation the other night sort of around football. And as we were sort of coming up through secondary school, you might want to take the floor with this one and sort of where that began. Because I don't want to bring that up, so I'll get rinsed in the group chat.
Well, the conversation began because I was asking you about your playing days as a young boy.
Sorry about
that. At the mighty Fulham. Now everyone knows at school that you played in goal for Fulham.
And more.
And obviously for everybody when they grow up, in terms of young boys, mate, they want to be a professional footballer. I wanted to be a professional footballer, never going to happen. Deep down I knew it was never going to happen, right? But everybody wants to... Why are you laughing? Because you know how bad I am.
No, not at all. It's great, mate.
No, but everyone wants to be professional footballers, don't they? Like when they're a young boy, no one wants to be, actually I'm not going to say that. But everyone wants to be a professional footballer, yeah? But you, in a way... almost made it. You played for Fulham from the age of 8 till 17, round about there. Yeah. And the conversation come about because I was just asking you about that because I was curious, and I would have thought that you defined your childhood football playing years as a success, even though you didn't ultimately make it. I played Sunday League football, and you were supposedly playing at the top level for our age, and you were. When you were 11, you can't play in the first team, right?
Yeah. But I thought I could.
But in comparison, if you look at me as an 11-year-old, you as an 11-year-old, you're at the top, and I was playing for Castle Colts. Shout out Castle Colts though, by the way. Just saying, fantastic team, awful red kit, but you were sort of saying that you didn't really define that as success.
I hated it because of the pressure. I can't even tell you. I enjoyed it retrospectively when I got home and I played well. I'm a keeper, I made a lot of mistakes, any football team will tell you that. I've played for. But it was really hard. We were training 3 times a week or up in Surrey and playing on a Sunday, and sometimes I have to play up an age group, and you see these lads in your team, you have trialists, it all changes every year. And I just didn't, it was just such a pressure, it probably wasn't, I look back on it and say it's a really pressurised environment. That's not right, because they don't put that pressure on you, but because of the nature of academy football and you want to make it, there's no in between. It's not like you're going to be, you either make it or you don't.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people, on really hard journeys and make it, and fair play to them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my mates, it's credit to themselves, the way that they conduct themselves.
Yeah.
But it's hard, and I said to you, let's flip this. You would think that about me, that I enjoyed that and being under not the spotlight, but on playing at that level. You had it off every Sunday. You were playing with your mates. You could win little tournaments, win medals. We only played friendlies.
Yeah.
You could go into school on a Monday morning and beat one of some other people that you didn't like and have a bit of banter.
Yeah. And you
Brilliant.
missed out on all of that.
I missed out on it all. I used to love playing for the school, and when we won the Kent Cup, I remember in our last year at school, and my God, it was the best, the happiest I've been. We went clubbing all night after that at Sore Spot. And the school were really proud of us, and that meant much more to me than ever playing for Fulham. And it happens. That was my.
Yeah.
It was an incredible learning experience, but it was just it was tough.
It's interesting because, see, as growing up in school and as your friend, right? One of my friends playing in academy, top level, and I'm playing on Sunday League, I would judge myself against you, right? Not you wouldn't even know, but just part of he's going to make it. He's going to be a footballer, and I'm playing on Sunday League. Everyone, Whereas what you're saying there is actually a bit of hidden truth in terms of when you start judging yourself against other people, you don't actually know if they're even enjoying what they're doing, and so are they successful, or are you more successful enjoying football every Sunday with your mates? watching Callum Orpin absolutely have a stinker, which is an absolutely fantastic time.
Yeah.
And that's it, mate. But, you know, judging people based on success, particularly in social media, you can do that now. When I'm running a business, I always judge myself with success against people that are like billionaires, which is just ridiculous. But you can't stop yourself doing that in terms of success. So I think what we're saying here is you can't define success outside the workplace.
I think it's very hard to. I think you need to relate this back to happiness and how you feel. I think that's the only way we can really answer this. And you know, you have goals in life. So let's flip this a little bit. Look at your goals, and you know, if you're working towards your first house or first flat, and you save up, you achieve it, then it becomes what's next. Those are like stepways, but you never really complete it. You know, it's not like Football Manager.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's like you have to try and shape these journeys, and you don't feel like it. I mean, you know, nobody sits. You map things out in your head. You think about it, but you don't sit there and like create a project plan on life.
Yeah.
There's so many curveballs and variables around it. It's so hard.
Mate, what you've just said there resonated with me in terms of you think when you achieve what you're going to achieve, you're going to be happy, and you're not, because you move the goalposts. Like I always said to Jesse, and we had this conversation before about the business. I said, like, I know for a fact that even if I grew it into a big business and stuff, I'll never be truly happy, because I'll always be like, well, how can it be bigger? You know, and all them things. And so success, you always end up moving the goalposts. It's good to have goals. It's good to set a good achievable plan. If you want to be a professional footballer, if you want to be an author, if you want to run your own business, there are steps to take to get there, to achieve what you consider success and make you happy. But ultimately, if you sort of define yourself as a person based on, if I do that, I'll be successful, and if I'm not, I'm going to be unhappy, that's when we start having some problems and some pressures and not living up to our own hype or whatever it might be, and then feeling down about that.
Let's touch on what you said about work and growing a business, and put this into some context. If you start a business up small, you ultimately have a small team around you. You all know each other. You probably end up being like family if there's 5 or 6 people in a startup.
Yeah.
Now, as you grow, the commercial gains in your life would be brilliant. But then you have the pressure of, you know, taking on more people. They have families, mortgages. It becomes quite stressful. Then it becomes more of a name on paper. The minute you probably get above 200 people, that family culture becomes very hard to maintain. You start entering the corporate world. And then it becomes a little bit like, you know, they're political games, some places. And it just, it changes. And you go, right, well, I've achieved the business goal, but now how am I feeling on the inside about all of this? Because, all of these considerations, there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody's driven to do well in business, no question of it. But we have to find a balance between what makes us tick, what makes us happy, and what makes us want to be us every day, and not wake up and be, in situations where we find it hard.
Letting other people define your success never works.
No.
So yeah, I mean, we haven't really concluded anything from this podcast, but I think it's pretty impossible. All we're saying here is that I've got a different definition of success to you, and to other people listening, and there's no right or wrong. You define your success on what you want. If you're very money driven and you want the biggest house and stuff, then that's fine. If you define that as your success, then we're not to say don't do that. If your success is having a nice comfortable job and coming home and enjoying time with your family and watching a film, then that's fine. Yeah. That's the point. And success changes over time for each person.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I wanted a business. Now I've got a business. That's not really my goals anymore in terms of like what I deem successful, because it's a silly metric, just owning your own business. But yeah, absolute pleasure this week again, Chris. We're touching on topics here which are almost like endless pits. Mental health, success. We're never going to get to the bottom of them, and I think that's the point of the podcast now. Obviously, we're going to touch on work every now and again, but we're going to start having discussions around very broad topics like success, mental health, happiness, and that sort of thing, and just speaking openly about what we feel about them topics, have a little debate, and then I'm sure people watching will completely have a different definition and different views and stuff like that, which is absolutely perfect. We're only here to open up the dialogue. We're not preaching or anything like that. So thank you for your time again, my friend.
Thank you. I think just to echo Jake on this, is we are, we're looking at some special guests and people that are going to come on and tell their stories and just share some things with you guys. And it's going to be, you know, hopefully we'll achieve out of this what we want to achieve in terms of, you know, we've sort of shifted the goalpost with this now and just want to talk openly about various topics. And so yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Hopefully like, share and subscribe to the Win or Learn YouTube channel.
Yes, that'll be good.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. And thank you to everybody for the support so far. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you back next week.